NFL training camp's fast approaching. The Chargers are actually going to be the first to report 2 weeks from today as we address the biggest questions for each AFC West team heading into training camp season. We'll welcome back John Breech and Tyler Sullivan and start with the Chiefs, who are 2 division championships shy of tying the Patriots for the most consecutive division titles. They're going for a 10th straight this season. Tyler, what is their biggest question right now?
It's the same question that we had going in the Super Bowl. Who's going to play left tackle? What does this offensive line look like for the Kansas City Chiefs coming off of a season where Patrick Mahomes was sacked more than any other time in his career? 36 sacks during the regular season, 11 in the playoffs. We all know there were 6 of those coming in that Super Bowl loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. So how do they keep Patrick Mahomes upright? This offseason, they signed Jalen Moore in free agency. They used their first-round pick in Justin Simmons. Let's see how that battle pans out. Simmons is coming off of an injury during his final year at Ohio State. Andy Reid says that he's expected to be a full go at training camp to kind of give us that competition throughout the summer. But the other thing is, all right, can any of these guys play? Yes, they could fill the position, but can a rookie in year 1 be a legitimate blindside left tackle? Can a left tackle free agent signing fill the shoes and be that guy to keep Patrick Mahomes upright? To me, that is not only the question for the Kansas City Chiefs, it could be the question of who comes out of the AFC.
Yeah, Tyler, that is an absolutely great question. It's not just a question from prior to the Super Bowl. It's been a question for the Chiefs since the start of the 2023 season. This team has started 6 different left tackles since Orlando Brown left. We saw Joe Thuney was there for a little bit. They traded him away. DJ Humphries started a couple games for them. Wanya Morris, Donovan Smith. So it's been a revolving door at the position. And you kind of, Patrick Mahomes felt that revolving. I think he got hit by it a couple times because he was sacked 36 times last season, which was the most times he's ever been sacked in a single season in his entire career. So now you're looking at Jalen Moore and Josh Simmons, as you just mentioned, who are going to be battling it out for that left tackle spot. And it's not just the left tackle spot. There's also the left guard to worry about. So it is the whole left side of the offensive line, where you have Kingsley Sumatea, who was going to be, they were hoping was going to be the left tackle. He struggled so much, they decide, all right, we're going to try him at guard. And now he's going to be battling Mike Caliendo for the left guard spot. So they are totally unsettled on the left side of the line. And both of those battles are going to be huge in training camp because they have to keep Patrick Mahomes upright if they want to get back to the Super Bowl.
All right, let's get to the Chargers, who went out and signed Najee Harris. They used a first-round pick on running back Omarion Hampton, and it's starting to resemble, John, more of a John Harbaugh-type offense that we're used to seeing from him.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Look, it's funny because this team has Justin Herbert, so you think they just want to go out and sling it. Let's throw it 95% of the time and forget the run game exists, but that's not what Jim Harbaugh does. He wants to run the ball down your throat and play defense. That's how he wins games. That's what's been successful for him at every level he's been to. He just won a national title at Michigan. He's been successful in the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers. So we know that his philosophy does work at this level. And as you said, they added Najee Harris. They added Omarion Hampton in the draft. And so it's pretty clear that this team is going to run the ball a lot. Now, what's that going to look like in training camp? I think that's where we get our first taste of how much are they going to run the ball. Is this going to be a 50-50 split, or is Harbaugh going to try and up this to, hey, we have Justin Herbert, we're still going to run the ball 52% of the time and only throw it 48% of the time. So it's going to be interesting to see what this offense looks like. I think the Chargers wanted to do this last year, but J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards both had a little bit of trouble staying healthy, and that threw their offense off a little. But I think Harbaugh is going to attempt to run the ball more this year.
There's no doubt that Harbaugh wants to run, but they do have to throw at some point, right? I mean, this isn't back in the old days. This is the modern day NFL. You do throw the football. You win by throwing the football. So to me, the question for the Chargers is, we know that they have Ladd McConkey as an emerging year 2 wide receiver after a tremendous rookie season, but what does the position look like after that? What is the number 2 option in the passing attack for Justin Herbert? Because right now, I'm kind of scratching my head to try to find someone that gives you a clear-cut answer. They have Mike Williams that they brought back as someone that can work on the boundary. They have Quentin Johnston, a former first-round pick that hasn't really lived up to that potential. They did draft Trey Harris in the second round. Maybe they try to go 2 for 2 in the past 2 years to find that number 2 wide receiver in Trey Harris. So to me, that's the big question. And it could be Amarian Hampton out of the backfield as the second most targeted pass catcher in that offense because of how dynamic he is with the ball in his hands. But to me, it's where do they find that secondary outlet in the passing game for Justin Herbert?
And they're first to report to camp 2 weeks from today because they're in the Hall of Fame game later on this month against the Detroit Lions. Feels good to say that there's a game later on this month. Let's go to maybe the most intriguing team in this division. It's the Denver Broncos. You're going to have some people picking them to win it because of the value you get around 3-1. Probably not a lot of questions on defense, John, with that being one of the best units in the league.
Yeah, that is truth, Chris. My biggest question is on offense and is what are these new offensive skill players going to look like? Because if you look at what Bo Nix did last season, it was wildly impressive considering he had no help from the team's rushing attack. He had no help from the tight end position. First of all, there was no Broncos running back that topped 550 rushing yards. There was no Broncos tight end that caught more than 20 passes. So Bo Nix was out there on his own making magic happen. He was the team's third leading rusher, still managed to throw 29 touchdown passes despite not having any tight ends to really throw to. So what did Sean Payton do? Look, we know that Sean Payton knows how to run an offense. He went out, drafted R.J. Harvey, signed J.K. Dobbins, and then they added Evan Ingram, who should be a dynamic tight end and I think could grow to a quick connection with Bo Nix. So I think it will be how will these new skill players fit into the Broncos offense? We saw, say, someone like Jimmy Graham with the Saints. Sean Payton made sure that the offense kind of ran through Jimmy Graham during Graham's prime, and I could see Evan Ingram putting up some huge numbers this year. And again, like Jim Harbaugh in LA, I think Sean Payton also wants to pound it on the ground, and that's what Dobbins and Harvey are there for. So I think the Broncos offense is going to be a lot different, but a lot more successful this year.
Yeah, I think the revamped backfield, the tight end room, all really good things to identify there with the Broncos. But my thing is, did they unlock Marvin Mims Jr. down the stretch last season? Because he went absolutely berserk in his final 5 games to wrap up the regular season. 23 catches, 341 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That is a regular season pace of over 1,000 yards receiving. It's also 17 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to get that. But if they have turned the corner with Marvin Mims Jr. to put him opposite of Courtland Sutton, you're talking about those additions plus that emerging player. This offense is going to be dangerous.
Broncos had a player finish 3rd in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting, and that was Bo Nix. The Raiders had the number 2 behind Jaden Daniels, and that was Brock Bowers, who was a first-team All-Pro last season. It's a revamped offense, John, because you've got Chip Kelly coming back to the NFL for the first time in almost a decade, and a new quarterback in Geno Smith.
Yeah, Chris, it's a revamped everything. We have Pete Carroll at the top, so you have a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. And the biggest question for me is what is Geno Smith going to look like in Chip Kelly's offense? Chip Kelly is very good at designing an offense around his best players. And as you mentioned, that is Brock Bowers. He is a talent. He is uncoverable. And so I think that what we're going to see is that Chip Kelly is going to have Brock Bowers on the field. He's going to have Mike Mayer out on the field. And this is going to be a tight end heavy offense. And then you look at what the Raiders did. It seems like the Raiders, Broncos, and Chargers all had the same strategy because they all went out and got some running back help. And we saw the Raiders draft Ashton Genty with their first-round pick. So you know he is going to be heavily involved. And then, obviously, Geno Smith factors in there. So Chip Kelly kind of has a lot of chess pieces to play with here. And we've seen, look, he struggled as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator, he's been quite brilliant. And I would not underestimate the Raiders at all this season. I think their offense could be surprisingly good due to the talent they have and the guy who will be calling plays.
Yeah, I'm with you, Breech. I'm bullish on the Raiders' offense. My question, though, comes on the defensive side of the ball, specifically the secondary at the cornerback spot. They really don't have anybody worth their weight in shoulder pads at the moment. They have a third-round rookie that's possibly going to start on the outside. They signed Eric Stokes, a former first-round pick, but they only signed him to a one-year, $4 million deal in free agency. Those are your possible starters. And Stokes last season gave up a passer rating of around 100. So I look at the Raiders a season ago. They were tied for the 5th most passing touchdowns allowed last season. They play in a division where it's Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Bo Nix. Even if Geno Smith is able to unlock this offense and Ashton Genty is supposed to be this dynamic figure out of the backfield, it might not mean much in terms of wins and losses if they're giving up a lot of plays in the secondary.
Sullivan, Breech, thank you. A division that always runs through Kansas City, but does the AFC run through Kansas City again this season? The Chiefs are minus 115 to win the AFC West for a 10th straight year, but they have the 3rd shortest odds to win their conference behind the Bills and the Ravens.